This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Profitability Movement. Go to https://profitability-movement.mn.com to join this community of business owners focused on building profit, increasing wealth, and giving back. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you today. What if you made conscious decisions about your home and business? These can be environmental decisions, profitability decisions, or others that you consciously think about before you act on a gut reaction. My guest today, Casey Gray, built his business using conscious decisions that increased his profitability and took the environment into consideration. Casey will give you how you can use conscious decisions to enhance your business. Casey, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
My pleasure. So you have a really cool and interesting story. And I think when you had your children is when your eyes really got open, right?
Yeah. When you realize you're going to have a little person looking up to you, your mindset changes.
Yeah, it does.
And the way you think, it's not all about you, especially at the time, I was in my 20s, early 20s. So everything from that point, my eyes became wide open and started asking myself different questions, and my life got much better from there.
Yeah.
I would say my son is my greatest teacher because he does what I do, not what I say.
Yep, exactly. They watch what you do and they ignore what you say.
Yeah. He doesn't actually. He's actually a really good kid. I don't want to say he's not listening to me, but.
No, I'm sure that he actually is. So, that focused you in business too, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Can we, talk about it? What were you doing? How are things different once oh my gosh, I'm going to have a little kid who is dependent upon me, and, it opened your eyes and made you realize that you're dependent on somebody, but how did it really change your business?
Well, what it changed was the questions I started to ask myself. So when I realized that we were having our son, we didn't know it was son at the time, but when we were having our first child, I started asking myself, or telling myself, like, if I'm going to tell this person that they can be and do whatever they want, I have to do the same. But I also want to make sure that I lead by example, right? I want to make this world a better place for my kids. There's a lot of things, and we know now, like if you watch the news, not that I'm a big fan of the news, but if you do some research, you can find a lot of things about what's really happening out there. And we can make better decisions that go beyond just things that affect our lives. And that's what I wanted to do, is I wanted to lead by example, to say, like, look, you can make this world a better place. I want to make sure that I can do my part to leave this world a better place for my child, for his children to come, and his children's children, and so forth, right? I want to make sure that everything I do, wherever I go, I'm leaving that place better than it was when I found it. And that's where I started to change my business.
Okay. And so the title Conscious Builder started when?
Not long after we found out that we were having Sullivan's his name. And before that, not long after that, we started a podcast, my wife and I, called the Conscious Living Podcast. And we really like the word conscious because conscious is a state of being aware. And you're not, like, a lot of us go through life, do our businesses unconsciously, right? We're not really asking ourselves the right questions. We're just kind of going through the motions, and we're doing what we always did, and we're not really asking ourselves why. And that's where the Conscious Builder started to come, is because we started to kind of build this brand around conscious. We don't do the Conscious Living Podcast anymore, but that kind of flowed into the Conscious Builder. Originally, it was a tagline for the company, but then I made it into the company name, because for us, that's what it is. We're making sure that homeowners, whether they're renovating or building, that they're aware of the decisions that they're making and the implications of those decisions. Because everything we do is custom, right? So we're not going to say you have to build this way or you have to use that product. It's, here's the options. You make the decision that's best for you, because at the end of the day, it is whatever's best for them. We all have a budget. We all have different needs. We all have different wants, and we can't make that decision for every person. The whole idea that being custom is they get to do it, but we're going to make sure that they have the information that they need so that they can make a conscious decision and understand what's going to happen with that decision.
Yeah. And from our perspective, sometimes they do really dumb things, but it's their money.
Well, exactly, right. And who's to say? And we're not here to judge or do anything. We'll say no to projects that aren't aligned with what we believe as a business. But as long as there's some sort of they're heading in the right direction, then we're happy to help them, because usually they'll, for the most part, at least the clients that we work with, will make better decisions than they would have if we weren't involved, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think so. I think it's very much an education process. We forget that sometimes. It's a situation where if a technician goes out or you go out or an owner goes out and does not ask the right questions, they're not going to get the right answers.
Exactly. And it's a new process for everybody. Every time we restart, right? They usually haven't done a major renovation or built a custom home before. There's very few people do that multiple times.
Well, they do it once. They replace a heating and air conditioning system in their home, probably once in a lifetime. And it's not something that they do every day. It's not like driving their car.
Yeah, exactly.
So you do a lot of renovation projects, correct?
We do.
So tell me what the education process is like for, somebody calls you on the phone and says, I want to talk to you about renovating my bathroom or my kitchen or the backside of my house, or I want to build a mother-in-law suite underneath, in our basement type thing. What do you normally do?
Yeah, so the types of projects that we do are usually larger renovations and up, or retrofits. So there's a lot of people reach out to us, have done some research, but we usually try to improve the performance of the home. Even if we're adding on to it, we can usually improve the performance of the home. But the biggest thing that we recommend people do is we need to start with the end in mind. So sure, you want to do your kitchen now, or you want to add on that sunroom, or whatever it is that you want to do now, but what are you planning on doing to the home in the long run? Because if we don't know the end game, we can't advise you properly. And the reason I say that is the biggest thing you mentioned, air conditioning, heating and air conditioning system before. That if you start with that, you'll have issues down the road if you improve the efficiency of your home. And the reason I say that is because of it's short cycles, right? If you need a system, that's one thing. It's broken, you got to put something in. You have to do what you have to do. But maybe you can put in something that can actually work for a home that performs better, that's more efficient. Or maybe you can make a decision to not put that natural gas furnace in it and go to an air source heat pump. So you're using, you can offset it with solar down the road, or you can use the energy, at least where we live here, a lot of our energy that's produced is made through water dams, right? So we're not burning coal or anything. So it's better to use electricity if you can than it is to use natural gas and burn fossil fuels. So those will be a lot of the conversations. Is the first thing is like, what are you doing? What's your plan in the long run, so that we can make sure that we can phase this properly and advise you best, because you don't want to have to be ripping things apart later or get rid of things that are perfectly fine.
Come on, Casey. Let's go. All right. When we get back from break, I want to explore this a little bit further and take it from being conscious about what you do, because it's really important to consciously talk with customers, but it's also important to consciously run your businesses. So, Casey, before we take a break, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Best thing would be to go to our website, theconsciousbuilder.com.
Okay. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. You can't. That's what my daughter Kate told me when I said I wanted to make financials fun. The gauntlet was laid down. The red blanket was waved in front of the bowl. Ronan the Rubber Duck was born. This ebook is a whimsical look at financials from a duck's perspective. To get this fun, easy-to-read Kindle book, go to Amazon and search for Ronan the Rubber Duck Dives into Financials. That's RONAN, the Rubber Duck Dives into Financials. Let me know if I made financials fun for you. We're back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I am here with Casey Gray, who is the founder, chief creative person behind The Conscious Builder, which is really what you're doing now, is you're educating people so that they can consciously make decisions. How is, from your perspective, people, as you say, they just kind of go along with their businesses. How important did you find it to take financials into consideration? Because I always talk about financials, but did you actually make a conscious decision to really learn your financials?
Yeah, absolutely. And I approached my brother, who's a partner now, to help with that because I know that he thinks differently than I do. He's an engineer, so he likes
Watch it.
processes that he likes that. He likes spreadsheets and all that. And I don't mind them, but I definitely like being on the creative side more. And there's only so many hours in a day. And as you're growing, like you need to have a good team behind you. So we very much we have regular meetings now. We're making sure that we're checking our balance sheet. We're tracking all of our expenses. We're making sure that our team's efficient and they're keeping their rates up. We're watching our overhead. We're looking at places that we can generate other revenue because we don't want to rely just on one thing or two things for revenue, because as we all know, that can disappear in an instant these days.
Yes, it can.
So we're really consciously working on all of these things to make sure that the business stays in business, because I think that's actually our duty as a business. Anybody who goes into business, if you have clients that are relying on you, that it's your duty to stay in business. And to stay in business, you need to make sure that you are profitable and that you are growing so that you can continue to deliver the service that they deserve.
All right. So let's flip it. What about the employees who work with you? Do they all understand that it's a conscious decision to work with you, or how do you handle that piece of it with employees?
Yeah, we have a pretty strict hiring process to bring people on. A couple of the guys that are with us now have been with us a while, didn't go through the hiring process, but everybody new who comes through, we put them through 3 interviews. So we interview at least 3 people for every position. We put them through 3 interviews. Like if they make it through, they might not make it past the first or the second. We make sure that we interview them in 3 different locations, and we also check at least 3 references. And then we make sure that they're a good fit, because one thing that we realize is the big thing is personality. They need to make sure that they're going to fit in with the culture of the business. You can train people to be a better carpenter, for example, if they don't have that skill. It's a lot harder to break habits that they have or to fit them into a mold that they just don't want to fit into potentially, right? Not to say that they're bad people. Maybe they're not right for our culture. So those are things that we would be checking throughout the interview process and making sure that they're actually going to work with our culture as opposed to against it. And sometimes, we get it wrong even with that process, but then we make the decision. And I forget the term that you had for that, for helping them find a new career, but
Career readjustment program.
Career readjustment. Yeah, exactly. But that doesn't happen too often, but it does. It still happens for sure.
Yeah, it's a much nicer word than saying firing somebody. We're just going to ask them to adjust their career and go someplace else.
Yeah. And sometimes people just want to try things out and it doesn't work, right? And you move on to the next career.
Yeah. And that happens sometimes. You're right. The thing is, though, that you are very clear, it sounds like, about the culture, about being conscious about what you do. And as long as you're doing it and they're following the leader, they'll do it.
Yeah, I'm not expecting them to change their lifestyle to eat what I eat and do what I do every single day, but we do expect them to maintain the job sites a certain way and maintain the quality on our projects, right? So that's one thing. I can't tell somebody how to live their home life, obviously, but we've had people that were smoking that came on board and then they quit smoking because nobody else smokes, right?
That's good.
So those are the things that, I like those stories that, those are, if we can have a positive impact overall, not just on the job site, then those are the greatest stories, but we can't obviously control that.
Right. Well, the reality is you can control their work environment. You can control what they do at work. And if they get it, i.e. be conscious about what you do, they'll end up probably being really phenomenal employees for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And, the thing is that you become who you hang around with most.
Yep.
Right. So if you're surrounding yourself with people that are creating good, positive habits, then you will take on those good habits. If they have negative habits, then you'll take on those negative habits.
I would prefer we say you have great positive habits and have everybody take on the great positive habits. Exactly. It's much more pleasant. So, okay. So we have a team of employees who get it. We have you walk the walk before you talk the talk. What's for the future? Is it expansion into other areas? Is it just grow it where you are? Or, does the team impact that?
Yeah, well, the way we're going in the future is actually with the Conscious Builder Academy, and we want to help other contractors continue to stay in business as well. That's ultimately where we're going with this. We want to continue to build and do what we do. And like I said, we're just kind of expanding into other areas where we can generate some income and ultimately support the industry as a whole, because there is a lot of buildings that need to be improved. There's going to be more buildings that need to be improved than are built, right? It's easy to make a new home energy efficient, and it depends on where you live, and it's going to vary. Where we are, it's minus 35 Celsius to plus 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but we have huge temperature swings, so we have to build for both extremes. And we have high humidity and it's dry in the winter. So ultimately, we're working towards helping people build better homes, because we all deserve to have a safe, healthy place to live and have a roof over our head. So I got other big visions way down the road, but that's kind of our next step at this point.
Got it. And you probably have a team who will follow you down the path.
Hopefully. We have a really amazing team. A lot of people working behind the scenes, and you see my face everywhere, but my face wouldn't be everywhere if it wasn't for the team.
Well, and that's true. I mean, what you do as a business owner takes a lot of work, and you need support behind you. And if everybody understands the culture from what, we're talking about, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to make a decision to say bye too.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You can say yes or no. Whenever you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to another thing. So make sure you say yes to the right things.
Absolutely. Give us your website again.
theconsciousbuilder.com.
Very good. All right. One last question. Where is Sullivan now? Did he take the Conscious Builder to heart?
He is. He grew out of the shirt, but he's got his Conscious Builder hat and shirts, and he loves it. He loves working. He's wants to just go out there, and he doesn't play with toys. He plays with like whippersnippers, and he wants to mow the grass and build stuff. So he's definitely following in his daddy's footsteps. We'll see if that continues.
It sounds great. Casey, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.